Okay, so remember we ended yesterday with Moses being a little bit reluctant to go back to Egypt. He's pretty scared. He doesn't have great memories of the last time he was there when the Pharaoh wanted to kill him because he'd killed an Egyptian and he had to go on the run. And now God's told him, "You have to go back. You're the one who's going to help free my people from slavery." And Moses has resisted. Can't you find someone else? But eventually, God's going to say, "I'm not taking no for an answer." So we are in Exodus 3, verse 16, and God is talking to Moses. He says, "Go, assemble the elders of Israel, and say to them, 'The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt. And I have promised to bring you up out of your misery in Egypt and to the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of Israel will listen to you. Then you and the elders are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Let us take a 3-day journey into the desert to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him. So I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptians with all the wonders that I will perform among them. After that, he will let you go. And I will make the Egyptians favorably disposed toward this people, so that when they leave, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman is to ask her neighbor and any woman living in her house for articles of silver and gold and for clothing, which you will put on your sons and daughters, and so you will plunder the Egyptians." Moses answered, "What if they don't believe me or listen to me and say, 'The Lord did not appear to you'?" Then the Lord said to him, "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," he replied. The Lord said, "Throw it on the ground." Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. Then the Lord said to him, "Reach out your hand and take it by the tail." So Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. "This," said the Lord, "is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you." Then the Lord said, "Put your hand inside your cloak." So Moses put his hand into his cloak, and when he took it out, it was leprous like snow. "Now put it back into your cloak," he said. So Moses put his hand back into his cloak, and when he took it out, it was restored like the rest of his flesh. Then the Lord said, "If they do not believe you or pay attention to the first miraculous sign, they may believe the second. But if they do not believe these 2 signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the river will become blood on the ground." Moses said to the Lord, "Oh, Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you've spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." The Lord said to him, "Who gave man his mouth? Who makes him deaf or mute? Who gives him sight or makes him blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." But Moses said, "Oh, Lord, please send someone else to do it." So there's a lot that happens here, right? So think about what stands out to you. What stands out to me are 2 things. One, God knows, because God knows everything, that the Egyptians are going to be very resistant. Nobody wants to let go of free labor, and the slaves are free labor. They're doing all the work, and they don't have to pay them. They're not going to want to let them go. But instead of just going straight to terrible things and curses and big shows of drama, God says, but I'm going to give them a lot of chances. I'm going to start with the little things. I'm going to start with small miracles. The staff that turns into a snake and the hand that has leprosy and then it doesn't. And he says, they're probably not going to believe those signs, Moses. We're going to have to amp it up after a while. But I love that he wants to give them as many chances. God is a God of second and third and fourth and 20th chances. He gives us so many chances. And so even though he knows that the Egyptians are just they're going to fight and resist and not want to give up their slaves, that God is saying, but I'm going to give them chances to do the right thing. So then if the punishment comes in the end, they had chances. God loves the Egyptians too, not just the Hebrews. But I also love that he is reiterating, he's telling us again and again, I've seen what you've been going through. All of the misery and the suffering and the crying that you've done that you've thought no one would hear, I've heard it and I'm responding. I will rescue you. I think, and I love this part too. He says, you're not going empty-handed either. You're going to take all of this wealth. In a way, it's a kind of reparations, right? He's saying for all of this time that you have worked and you've earned money for other people have gotten rich off of your labor, Hebrews. You're going to take all of that wealth with you. You're not going to leave empty-handed. It's not just going to be like, well, you're free, but start from ground zero. With nothing, you'll have nothing. He's like, when you leave, you're going to take a lot of wealth with you so that you can set yourself up and become an independent people. So we get a pretty clear view about how God thinks about slavery here, huh? The other thing I love is this part where when God says, throw your staff on the ground, and it turns into a snake, and Moses runs away from it, which is what I would do too. But then when God says, reach out your hand and pick it up, Moses does it. Moses might not realize it, but he's already starting to develop faith. Because if he had no faith, when God says pick up, he would be like, I'm not picking up a snake. Something about him, he is already learning that God can be trusted. This snake is not going to harm him. So even though his initial reaction was to run from it, when God tells him pick up the snake, he does it. And I think he must, by this point, already be trusting, God's not going to let this snake hurt me. And sure enough, it turns back into a staff when he does that, right? God is building up his trust with little things so that when it gets to a point where Moses needs to trust him in really, really big things, they already have a history together. God's already established for him that he can be trusted. And I think that's what God does with us too, that he helps us build trust in a relationship. We learn that we can trust him in little things so that when really hard things come in our lives, we've already learned that God can be trusted. He can be trusted with our heartbreak. He can be trusted with our fears. He can be trusted with our doubts. And he can also be trusted with our joys and our excitements and our celebrations. He can be trusted with our humanity. And that's what we're seeing here. And even so, we're seeing Moses be super reluctant and scared. Like, oh, this sounds terrible. Please send someone else. God's not going to send someone else, but he is going to send Moses with helpers. He's not going to make Moses do it alone. God doesn't make us do a lot of things alone. Other people are important in our journeys.